All right, let's talk about something that holds so many of us back: fear. But what we're going to do today is completely flip the script on it. We're going to transform courage from this thing you just wait around for into a skill you can actually build day by day.
I mean, just think about that for a second. We always talk about courage like it's some superpower that only a few people are born with, right? But what if that's all wrong? What if it's something that anyone, you, me, anyone listening, can develop with the right practice? That's the huge idea we're going to unpack today.
You felt this, I know you have. You have this big ambition, this dream, this thing you really want to do. But you just feel stuck, frozen, like there's some invisible wall you just can't push through. Well, that wall is fear, and it creates this constant tug of war between where you want to go and where you feel safe.
Now, this conflict, it's not a flaw in your character. It's literally baked into our biology. Your brain is hardwired to keep you alive, and that means avoiding risk at all costs. But your ambition? That's wired for growth, and growth always requires risk. That clash is the ambition-comfort conflict, and it's the #1 reason we dream big, but so often act small.
And here's the thing, staying stuck in that conflict, always choosing comfort, it's not a free ride. It comes with a price tag, a cost that adds up over time in ways we don't always see until it's way down the road. Let's take a look at what these hidden costs really are. So the first cost is what I call the regret tax. Think about it. Every time you play it safe, you don't speak up in that meeting, you don't send that bold email, you don't try out, you're making a tiny deposit into an account. It doesn't feel like a big deal in the moment, but those missed chances, they compound over the years into this heavy weight of what ifs. You know, the sting of a single failure fades pretty fast. But the ache of regret for the chances we never even took, that can stick with you for a lifetime. It's all about weighing that future feeling against the fear you're feeling right now. Okay, next up is something called the identity lag. This is that nagging, uncomfortable feeling you get when your daily actions just don't match up with the person you know you could be. You see yourself as a leader, but you stay quiet. You know you're creative, but you never actually show anyone your work.
This gap between who you could be and who you're acting like right now, it creates this constant low-grade hum of anxiety. It's what feeds self-doubt because your actions aren't giving you the proof you need to believe in that better version of yourself.
And the third, and maybe the biggest hidden cost, is the delegated life. When your fear is in the driver's seat of your life, well, you're not. You've essentially handed over the steering wheel to your anxieties, to what other people might think, to all these worst-case scenarios that almost never, ever happen.
I mean, that's what it all comes down to, right? Agency. Fear tries to convince you to let it hold the pen, but you're the author here. It's your story to write. So the big question is, how do we take the pen back?
And that brings us to the solution, the good stuff. A really practical, step-by-step framework I call the Courage Operating System, or C.O.S. for short. Think of this as your personal blueprint for turning fear into action and making bravery a total habit. The system is pretty simple, broken down into 3 phases. First, we're going to diagnose the fear, name it and tame it. Second, we're going to build that courage muscle with small, deliberate actions. And third, we're going to weave all of this into our actual identity, so being courageous just becomes who you are. So let's dive into phase 1. So phase 1 is all about dragging your fears out of the shadows and into the light. Fear loves being this big, vague, scary monster, right? So we fight back with what's called the fear interrogation method. First is the probability test. You ask yourself, okay, what are the real odds of this actually happening? It turns out that studies show only about 10% of our worries ever come true. Then there's the survivability test. All right, let's just say the worst case scenario does happen. What would I actually do? Just by thinking through 3 simple steps, you turn that monster under the bed into a problem you can actually solve. Now we're at phase 2, courage calibration. Look, you don't go from being silent in meetings to giving a keynote speech overnight. You use a courage ladder. You take that big, scary goal and you break it down into tiny, manageable rungs. The absolute key here is the rule of just 1 rung. Don't look at the top of the ladder, that's just gonna freak you out. Your only job is to focus on taking that very next step. That's it. That is how you build unstoppable momentum. And finally, phase 3, identity integration. This is where the real lasting transformation happens. Our actions flow from our identity, so we have to change the story we're telling ourselves. Stop saying, I'm trying to be brave. Start saying, I am a courageous person who acts in spite of fear. That tiny shift in language, it has a massive, massive impact on your mindset and the choices you make next. Okay, so let's be real. What happens when you take a step on that ladder and it doesn't go perfectly? It's gonna happen. And this is where most people just give up. But failure is not the enemy of courage. It's actually the teacher. It's just data. So instead of beating yourself up, you run a super simple after-action review. You just ask these 3 questions. This totally reframes a setback from being some judgment on your character into a valuable lesson for your next attempt. It's all about growth, not shame. And we have to talk about this feeling, the courage hangover. You know it, right? You finally do the scary thing, and afterward, instead of feeling amazing, you feel shaky, exposed, and full of self-doubt. This is 100% normal. It does not mean you failed. It's the emotional version of sore muscles after a great workout. It is proof that you pushed your limits and you are getting stronger. So building courage isn't something you do in a vacuum. To make this a real, sustainable part of your life, you need to create an environment, an entire ecosystem that actually supports your bravery. And building this ecosystem really comes down to 2 things. First, you need a bravery board, a small crew of people who get it, who cheer for you, and who celebrate your wins. Second, you have to identify the dream assassins. These are the people, and they're often well-meaning, who just pour cold water on your dreams. Curating who you listen to is absolutely crucial. So, as we start to wrap this up, let's just come back to the core message. Every single dream you have, every ambition, every better version of yourself that you want to become, it's all waiting for you, right on the other side of your comfort zone. The only barrier is fear, but now you have the tools to walk right through it. And this right here is the ultimate takeaway. You might stumble, you might get rejected, things might not go the way you planned, but none of that is the real failure. The only true failure is letting fear win before you even start. It's not trying in the first place. Look, this journey isn't about becoming fearless overnight. It's about taking one small, courageous step. So I'll leave you with this question. What's one rung on your own courage ladder that you can climb this week? Pick one thing, interrogate the fear, plan your step, and then just go. That's how you start building the life you really want.